The Alpha King's private chambers were forbidden. Everyone in Valdros knew this. The corridor leading to them was unlit, unguarded, and unmarked. Not because the king trusted his court, but because he didn't need protection. Anyone foolish enough to cross that threshold would face something far worse than guards. So when Isra stumbled through that door, breathless and bleeding from a wound she couldn't explain, she didn't realize she'd just made the worst mistake of her life. She'd expected an empty room, a storage closet, somewhere to hide from the men hunting her through the palace corridors. Instead, she found him. Calum, Alpha King of Valdros, stood in the center of his chambers, shirtless, his back to her. Water still dripping down skin stretched over muscle that seemed carved from marble. He turned slowly, eyes the color of burning amber fixed on her with predatory stillness. And then he inhaled. His entire body went rigid. Something shifted in those eyes. Something dangerous. Something hungry. Isra's wolf screamed at her to run. But when she tried to back away, when her hand found the door handle, his voice cut through the darkness like a blade. "Close that door." It wasn't a request, and when she obeyed, when her trembling fingers pushed the door shut instead of fleeing through it, Isra knew she'd just sealed her own fate. "Good," the Alpha King said softly, "because you're not leaving." 3 hours earlier, Isra had been certain this would be the night she finally escaped. The palace of Valdros was chaos. The summer solstice celebration had every noble house in attendance, every corridor packed with drunken lords. It was the perfect cover. For 3 years she'd worked as a servant in the lower kitchens, invisible, unremarkable, carefully hiding everything that made her a target. Tonight, she would slip away and never look back. She moved through the servants' passages with practiced ease, her worn leather satchel pressed against her side. Inside, a change of clothes, dried provisions, saved wages, and the suppressants, the precious herbs that kept her omega scent masked, that let her pass as a beta among wolves who would tear her apart if they knew the truth. Omegas didn't survive in Valdros. Not anymore. 22 years ago, the old king had declared Omega's property of the crown. Any unmated Omega discovered was seized, sold to the highest bidder, or forced into breeding contracts. The lucky ones were claimed by cruel alphas who at least kept them fed. The unlucky ones vanished into the pleasure houses along the eastern border. Isra's mother had been one of the unlucky ones. She'd sworn on her mother's unmarked grave that she would never be discovered. Never be claimed. Never belong to anyone. At 22, she'd spent most of her life running. Orphaned at 7 when her mother finally succumbed to illness in a squalid eastern pleasure house. Years drifting between provinces, surviving on scraps and stolen moments of safety. She'd only found work at the palace 3 years ago, and even that fragile stability was built on lies. The servants' passage opened into the east wing. Voices. Male, rough, laughing. She recognized one, Lord Renwick's personal guard, a brute named Corvus who'd cornered her twice before, who'd breathed against her neck and told her she smelled like something he couldn't quite place. Her suppressants were failing. She needed to move. Now. Isra slipped through a side door into an unfamiliar corridor. The celebration was distant here, the noise fading. Good. The stables were through the eastern courtyard, and if she could just... Footsteps. Heavy, purposeful, coming from both directions. There she is. Corvus. He'd followed her. Isra ran. Corridors split and twisted. She didn't know where she was anymore. Somewhere in the upper wings. Somewhere forbidden. But she could hear them gaining, and panic overtook caution. She threw herself through the nearest door. Darkness. Silence. The scent of wood smoke and something wild that made her wolf whimper. Isra pressed her back against the door, gasping. Safe. She just needed to wait until Corvus passed. Movement in the shadows. She wasn't alone. The man emerged like a predator stepping into moonlight. Impossibly tall, shoulders broad enough to block the firelight. His hair was dark and damp, pushed back from a face that made her breath catch. Not beautiful. Beautiful was too soft. This face was striking like a blade, all sharp angles and cold precision, with amber eyes that seemed to glow. He was shirtless. Water glistened on skin stretched over carved muscle. A scar ran from ribs to hip, the kind of wound that should have killed him, and he was staring at her. Ezra's voice came out as a whisper. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to. He inhaled. The change was instant. Those golden eyes widened, then narrowed. His nostrils flared. A growl rumbled from somewhere deep in his chest, not aggressive, but hungry, primal, inevitable. Ezra's wolf recognized that sound, recognized what it meant. No. She grabbed the door handle. Whatever waited in that corridor was nothing compared to what stood 5 feet in front of her. Close that door. His voice was low, controlled. Her hands obeyed before her mind could protest. The door clicked shut. Of course. There was only one person whose chambers would be in the Forbidden Wing, who would command with that voice, who would radiate power like smoke filling a room, the Alpha King of Valdros. And she had just stumbled into his private chambers, reeking of Omega, while he stood half-naked in the dark. Your Majesty, she managed. Please, I made a mistake. I was running from... It doesn't matter. I'll leave. I swear I won't. You're bleeding. Ezra looked down. Dark stains spread across her sleeve. She'd cut herself while running. She hadn't noticed. It's nothing... He crossed the distance in 3 strides. Ezra pressed against the door, but there was nowhere to go. His hand caught her injured arm. His touch was gentle. He examined the wound with clinical attention. This close, she could smell him, pine and wood smoke, and something darker that made her Omega instincts purr dangerously. Shallow, he murmured. You'll live. Your Majesty, please. Who are you running from? One of Lord Renwick's guards. He's been bothering me. Corvus. His jaw tightened. I've warned Renwick about him. I should go, before... He won't find you here. These chambers are warded against intrusion. You shouldn't have been able to enter at all. Confusion flickered in his expression. But you did. He leaned closer, inhaling slowly at her throat. A shudder ran through her body. And you're not what you pretend to be, are you? Silence. Her secret. He knew. I don't know what you mean. She lied. The king straightened. His face revealed nothing. You'll stay in the adjoining chamber tonight. Tomorrow, we discuss what happens next. I can't. I have to leave. You're not leaving these chambers. Not until I understand how you breached those wards. Not until I decide what to do with you. But I'm nobody. You're an Omega passing as a Beta in a kingdom that enslaves your kind. He said it flatly, without hunger. Just fact. You've survived 3 years without being discovered, and you've walked through magical protections that should have been impossible to breach. He moved toward a far door, pausing. Rest. We'll talk in the morning. Why aren't you claiming me? You could do anything you wanted. Why? He looked at her over his shoulder. For a moment, she saw something unexpected in his wolf-bright stare. Weariness. Loneliness. Pain. I have no interest in owning anyone, he said quietly. And if you knew what I truly am, you'd know staying with me is more punishment than protection. Then he was gone. Ezra stood in darkness, her mind reeling. What is he? The adjoining chamber was larger than the entire servants' quarters where Ezra had lived for 3 years. A massive canopied bed dominated the space. Tapestries covered the walls. The hearth crackled with low flames. And Ezra stood shaking. She should be running. Every instinct screamed that an alpha who knew her secret was the most dangerous thing in the world. But the doors were locked. The windows too high. She was trapped. He trapped me. Yet something about that flash of weariness in his eyes made her hesitate. If you knew what I truly am, you'd know staying with me is more punishment than protection. What did that mean? The king didn't come that night. A servant named Hestia arrived instead, older, sharp-eyed, and efficient. She had Isra bathed, fed, and dressed in soft fabrics. No one sneered. No one hurt her. It was the strangest kindness she'd ever known. Morning came. Caleb stood by the window, dressed in formal black, a crown of dark iron on his brow. When he turned, his autumn-colored gaze fixed on her with unreadable intensity. "Tell me," he said, "how did you breach my wards?" "I don't know. I just opened a door." The wards are designed to kill anyone without royal blood who attempts to enter. They've stood for 200 years. You walked through them like they weren't there. Cold dread settled in her stomach. "I don't understand." Which means one of two things. Either you possess powerful magic, or the wards recognized you as something connected to the royal line. His eyes searched her face. "Who are you?" "I'm a servant. Orphaned at 7. Spent years drifting between provinces before I found work here. I have no family, no connections." "What was your mother's name?" The question cut her off. "Seren," she said quietly. Her name was Seren. Something flickered across Caleb's face. He turned away sharply. "Seren Ashford?" Blood drained from Isra's face. He knows her full name. 22 years ago, when my father ordered all Omegas claimed, Seren Ashford was supposed to be the first. His voice was hard, bitter. She was the Omega he'd chosen for himself. But she vanished the night before, along with her illegitimate daughter. Understanding crashed over Isra like a wave. "Your mother was my father's true mate," Caleb continued. "The one fate chose for him. But when he discovered she was pregnant with another man's child, he went mad with rage. He swore to destroy her, to destroy you. She never told me. She was protecting you, running for over 2 decades, hiding you both." His voice softened, almost imperceptibly. "She was eventually tracked to a pleasure house in the eastern provinces. My father's agents poisoned her there. Witchbane, slow and agonizing. She died rather than reveal where she'd hidden you." Tears burned Isra's eyes. Her mother hadn't just died of illness. She'd been murdered, protecting her. "The wards recognized you because you carry the blood of my father's fated mate," Caleb said quietly. "Something the magic considers significant." "What do you want from me?" "Nothing. But others will want everything. If anyone discovers who you are, they'll see you as a threat. A living connection to my father's shame." His jaw tightened. "The palace is already searching for you. Corvus told everyone about the servant girl who smelled like an Omega." "Then let me run. You can't hide anymore. Your suppressants have failed. You've been seen entering the Forbidden Wing." He met her eyes. "Stay. Not as a prisoner, as someone under my protection. Let me keep you safe until I figure out how to fix this." Isra stared at his extended hand. He could take whatever he wants. He doesn't need to ask. But he was asking. "I don't understand you," she whispered. A ghost of a smile crossed his lips. "Join the club." Slowly, terrified and confused and inexplicably hopeful, Isra placed her hand in his. And despite everything, despite her secrets, despite his power, she felt something she hadn't felt in years: safety. The next 3 days passed in careful tension. Isra was no longer confined. Caleb gave her permission to move through the palace with an escort. She explored gardens, the library, and the kitchens where she'd once been invisible. Everything felt different now. She was still vulnerable, still surrounded by wolves who would claim her in a heartbeat. But she was the king's ward, protected, untouchable. On the 3rd evening, someone stepped into her path. Her breath caught. The woman was beautiful like a blade, sharp angles, polished edges, dark honey hair, green ice eyes. She wore emerald silk, and jewels glittered at her throat. Something unnatural flickered behind her gaze, a darkness that made Isra's wolf growl in warning. This woman carried magic, dark magic, barely concealed. Lady Vela, Calem's betrothed. So, Vela said coolly, you're the one. My lady. Don't grovel, don't lie, don't waste my time. She circled Isra like a predator. I know what you are, an Omega, unmated. Pretty enough, in that peasant sort of way. I'm not. Here's what's going to happen. Viola's voice dropped. You're leaving tonight. Servants' passages, Eastern Gate. Slip out. Disappear. Never return. And if I don't? Vela smiled. It wasn't kind. Then I'll tell the council you seduced the king. I'll tell them you're a spy. And I'll tell them about your mother, who Seren Ashford really was. Her eyes glittered. You'll burn alive, and Calem will watch. Fear spiked through Isra's chest. Midnight, Eastern Gate, be there, or everything burns. Then she was gone. When Calem returned an hour later, Isra was waiting. You saw her, he said. Not a question. She threatened me, told me to leave or she'd destroy us both. Calem's face went pale with fury. What exactly did she say? Isra told him everything. Vela is more dangerous than she appears, he said quietly. Our betrothal wasn't my choice. It was a condition of my coronation. The noble houses demanded I take a wife from their ranks. You don't love her? I don't even like her. His laugh was bitter. But she has connections I need. If I refuse the marriage, the houses will withdraw support. The kingdom will fracture. So you're trapped too. We're all trapped. The only question is whether we let our cages define us. Silence stretched between them. I'm not leaving tonight, Isra said finally. Calem's gaze sharpened. That's dangerous. Running is more dangerous. Vila will find me wherever I go. She lifted her chin. I'm tired of running. I've done it my whole life. Something warm flickered in his expression. Tomorrow, he said quietly, I'm going to introduce you to the court. Not as a companion, as my ward. A woman under my personal protection, answerable to no one but me. They'll fight it. Let them. His voice hardened. I'm the Alpha King. It's time I started acting like it. The great hall of Valdros had never felt so vast. Hundreds of nobles filled the space, lords and ladies in silks, commanders in armor, council members in ceremonial robes, all waiting for the king's audience, all about to see her. Isra wore midnight blue embroidered with silver. Her hair was braided, her neck exposed. Exposed, vulnerable, unclaimed. Every wolf would know she was Omega the moment she entered. Ready? Calem offered his arm. No. Neither am I. Let's do it anyway. The doors opened. Whispers erupted immediately as Calem strode in with Isra at his side. Who is that? She's an Omega. Can you smell it? Look at her neck. Unclaimed. How is that possible? Calem positioned her at his right hand beside the throne, a position of honor, and addressed the court. Lords and ladies of Valdros, I present Isra of the Eastern Provinces, daughter of Seren Ashford. From this day forward she is my ward, protected by my authority, answerable to no one but me. Silence. Then eruption. An Omega is ward? Unprecedented. The law clearly states, I am the law. Calem's voice cut through the chaos, and I am changing it. Any noble who attempts to touch her will answer to me personally. Lord Thessaly stepped forward, silver-haired and furious. Your Majesty, the noble houses will never. The noble houses will accept what I tell them. Or they can explain their objections to my army. Before Thessaly could respond, another voice rang out. Actually, I have a question. Vila emerged from the crowd, emerald gown rustling. My betrothed can certainly take a ward, but does the court know this Omega's full history? Her smile sharpened. About Seren Ashford, who was supposed to become the old king's mate 22 years ago, who vanished with her illegitimate daughter. The hall erupted. Silence! Calem's alpha voice rolled through the room like thunder. Lady Vela speaks the truth. Ezra's mother was the woman my father chose as his mate. She fled before the claiming. He faced the nobles. My father spent years hunting Seren. He devoted armies to finding her. We all know what it really was. Obsession. Madness. The same madness that led him to enslave every Omega in this kingdom. Devastating silence. Ezra is not responsible for her mother's choices. She was a child when Seren fled. I will not allow her to suffer for sins that were never hers. He looked at Vila with dangerous eyes. And if anyone spreads rumors designed to harm her, they will answer for it. Am I understood? Fear flickered behind Vela's frozen smile. Perfectly, Your Majesty. This audience is concluded. Hours later, Kalem found Ezra in her chamber. You took a tremendous risk today, she said. I know. Vila will never forgive you. I know that too. Why risk so much for me? I'm nobody. He moved to the window, back to her. Do you know why my father became obsessed with your mother? Not just because she rejected him. Because when he met her, he felt something for the first time. Warmth. Connection. The beginning of love. And then she ran, and he spent his life trying to get it back. That's why he enslaved the Omegas, trying to control what he couldn't have. He turned to face her. I swore I'd never be like him. Protecting you isn't just conscience. It's proving that power doesn't have to corrupt. That an alpha can care for an Omega without owning her. Something warm and dangerous bloomed in Ezra's chest. I've never had someone who wanted me for myself, he said quietly. You see me, not the crown, just me. Kalem. Don't. He held up a hand. I didn't tell you this to create obligations. He moved toward the door. Wait. Ezra crossed the room before she could think. She stopped just in front of him, close enough to feel his warmth. Thank you. For treating me like a person instead of a possession. Something flickered in his gaze, something like hunger. You deserve to be treated like a person, he said. Never let anyone convince you otherwise. Then he was gone. Don't fall for him. Don't you dare? But she knew it was already too late. Days passed. Kalem visited each morning and evening. Their conversations grew longer, more personal. He asked about her life. She answered more honestly each time. He never pushed, never demanded. It was disconcerting. Why haven't you marked me? The question slipped out one evening. Kalem went still. Is that what you want? No. I just don't understand why you haven't. Every law permits it. I don't believe claiming should be domination, and I have no interest in forcing myself on anyone. His jaw tightened. My father's reforms were an atrocity. I've been working to dismantle them, limiting slave markets, improving conditions, creating pathways for Omegas to be released. I didn't know. Most don't. The nobles prefer their cruelty uninterrupted. Something clicked in Ezra's mind. That's why you reacted when you found out I was Omega. You weren't excited. You were upset. Finding an unclaimed Omega in my chambers is a complication. Some will demand I share you. Others will use you as proof I'm secretly like my father. His hands clenched. And if they discover who your mother was, then maybe I should leave. No. The word came sharper than intended. He softened. Running won't protect you. Vela has resources. She'd find you within weeks. Then what do I do? He took her hand. His fingers were warm, strong, and gentle. Electricity raced up her arm. You stay. You let me protect you. And you trust that I'll do whatever it takes. Why do you care so much? Because you matter. His thumb traced her palm. In 3 weeks, you've shown me more courage, more warmth than anyone in this court has in years. When I'm with you, I don't feel like a king playing a role. I feel like myself. Kalem, I know I shouldn't say these things. I'm betrothed. The complications are endless. He released her hand. But I needed you to know. You matter to me. More than you should. He turned toward the window. You should go. Before I say something else I shouldn't. What if I don't want to go? Ezra's voice steadied. What if I want to hear what else you shouldn't say? Slowly, he turned. His eyes were dark with want. Ezra. Her name was a warning. I'm not asking for promises. Just stop pretending you feel nothing, because I can't pretend anymore. Caleb crossed the distance in 2 strides. His hands cupped her face. She saw the question in his eyes. Silent permission, before his mouth found hers. The kiss was gentle at first. Then Ezra's fingers curled into his shirt, and something broke loose. The kiss deepened. His arms wrapped around her. When they finally broke apart, both breathing hard, Caleb rested his forehead against hers. This is a terrible idea, he murmured. I know. Vila will destroy us if she finds out. I know. He kissed her again. The next morning, Ezra woke to screaming. Hestia burst through the door, face pale. It's the king. He's collapsed. The healers don't know what's wrong. He's barely breathing. Ezra ran. The king's chamber was chaos. Healers swarmed around Caleb's motionless body. His face was pale as death. Dark veins had appeared along his neck and jaw, spreading like cracks in marble. And at the foot of the bed, watching with barely concealed satisfaction, stood Lady Vela. What happened? Ezra demanded. An elderly healer turned. He collapsed during his morning audience. No warning. His body is shutting down, but we find no cause. Dark veins. Something crawling through his blood. Memory crashed over her. The healer in the Eastern Pleasure House, whispering to another servant about her mother's final days. The same dark veins. The same slow death. Witch vein, they'd called it. The same poison that had killed Seren. It's poison, Ezra said sharply. Witch vein. Someone poisoned him. Everyone stared. How would a servant recognize magical poison? Vela's voice cut through. Because I watched my mother die of it. You need a powerful witch to counteract it. Witches are forbidden. Then he dies. Ezra turned to the guards. Find me a witch, now. You have no authority, Vila said coldly, and you benefit most from his death. Ezra rounded on her. You've been meeting secretly with Thessaly. You threatened to destroy us both. Silence crashed over the room. Are you accusing me of poisoning the king? Then have me executed. But first, let me try to save him. Tense silence. Then Hestia stepped forward. The Lady Ezra is right. Let her try. Finally, grudgingly, Vela stepped back. The witch arrived within the hour. Young, copper-haired, storm-gray eyes. Thalia. She examined Caleb and confirmed, Witchbane, ancient and powerful. Can you break it? Ezra asked desperately. Not alone. Against ice magic, fire would be most effective. Thalia studied her. You have power. Untrained, suppressed, but there. I don't have magic. You walked through wards designed to kill intruders. Your scent? Thalia leaned closer. You smell like fire. Something burning beneath the surface. Anxiety twisted through her. I don't understand. Your mother must have sealed it inside you as a child, to protect you. Thalia took her hand. I need you to let whatever power you have come to the surface. Together, we might save him. Ezra looked at Caleb. His breathing had grown shallower, the dark veins spreading. Tell me what to do. The ritual was unlike anything Ezra imagined. Thalia positioned her at Caleb's bedside, one hand on his chest, the other in the witch's grip. Ancient words filled the air. Then heat bloomed in Ezra's chest. Not painful, intense, like a flame smoldering for years suddenly catching air. It spread through her body, down her arms, into her hands. Yes, Thalia breathed. Let it flow. Ezra stopped fighting. She let the heat pour through her into Caleb. The dark veins began to recede. Keep going, don't stop. The heat intensified. She felt like she was burning from inside, but beneath her palm, Calem's heart grew stronger. Live. Please live. I'm not ready to lose you. Time lost meaning. Then Calem's eyes opened. Amber. Clear. Alive. Isra. He breathed. She collapsed. She woke 2 days later in her chamber. Hestia sat beside her. The king is alive, recovering, thanks to you. Relief crashed over her like a wave. I don't understand what I did. The witch says you have magic. Powerful, bound for years. Your mother must have been a healer witch of considerable power. That's why the old king wanted her so desperately, not just as a mate, but for her abilities. Everything she thought she knew was wrong. The king wishes to see you, Hestia said quietly. He's been asking constantly. She found Calem sitting up in bed, still pale but alive. You came, he said softly. You called. She sank into the chair beside him. For a moment, neither spoke. You saved me, he said finally. Thalia did most. Thalia says she couldn't have done it without you. He took her hand. You have magic. And you used it to pull me back from death. I couldn't let you die. Not when I just found you. Something raw crossed his expression. I'm breaking the betrothal. What? Vela tried to kill me. Even if we can't prove it, I know it. And more than that, I refuse to pretend anymore. I refuse to marry someone I feel nothing for while the woman He stopped. But Isra saw what he'd been about to say. The woman I love. The noble houses won't accept it. Let them rebel. I'm tired of sacrificing everything for a kingdom that gives nothing back. His grip tightened. I will not give you up. Emotion welled in her chest, pressing against her ribs. You barely know me. I know you saved my life. I know you faced Vela when anyone else would have run. I know you see me. Just me. His voice dropped. I've never had that before. I do want you, she whispered. So much it terrifies me. He pulled her closer onto the bed beside him, his arms wrapped around her. Then stay with me, not as a ward, as my partner, my equal. And everything else? The council? The noble houses? We'll face it together. Yes, she said. I'm done facing things alone. Calem kissed her, and for the first time in her life, Isra felt like she'd come home. 3 days after Calem announced the end of his betrothal, the noble houses revolted. Not with armies, with silence. Lords withdrew from court, trade caravans stopped. The council chambers sat empty. They're trying to starve us out, Calem said grimly, reviewing reports. Thessaly controls the grain stores. Without his cooperation, the capital will be hungry within a month. All because of me. All because I dared to choose for myself. He looked up. This rebellion was coming regardless. I've been challenging their power for years. You were just the excuse. Before Isra could respond, Hestia burst in. Lady Vela has escaped confinement. She's taken the royal seal and documents proving your father's Omega arrangements. Names, locations, everything. She's joining Thessaly. Cold certainty settled in Isra's chest. How long before Thessaly moves? Days. Our forces are outnumbered 3-1. Then we need allies. Everyone turned to Isra. The Omegas. Every noble house has them. If we could reach them, they know secrets, vulnerabilities. They could provide intelligence, sabotage defenses. And the common folk outnumber nobles 1,000-1. They just need someone to lead them. Silence fell. Calem stared at her with something like wonder. She's right, Thalia said quietly. The common folk hate the noble houses. If the king called them to fight, they might answer. Lady Seraphine finished. Calem nodded. Begin sending messengers to every village. The king offers freedom to all Omegas, protection to all who join his cause. The noble houses will call it sedition. They're already in rebellion. We fight with what we have. The next 3 days blurred with preparation. Isra helped identify weak points in noble defenses, worked with Thalia to build a network of magical support. And at night, she found comfort in Calem's arms. I never wanted to be part of a war, she admitted. Neither did I. When I was young, I dreamed of being a scholar. His hand traced patterns on her back. Instead, I inherited a throne I never wanted. You could have run away. I considered it, but I thought about everyone who couldn't run, the Omegas, servants, and common folk. If I ran, who would fight for them? That's why I fell in love with you, she said quietly. The words hung in the air. She'd never said them directly before. His breath caught. Isra, you don't have to say it back. But I needed you to know. Whatever happens, I love you. Silence. Then he pulled her down, kissing her with desperation. I love you too. More than I've ever loved anything. We're going to survive this. We're going to win. The attack came at dawn. Isra woke to screaming. Through the window, flames rose from the eastern quarter. They're early, Caleb growled. Someone told them our defenses weren't ready. A traitor in the palace. Hestia arrived, face grim. The eastern gate has fallen. Thousands of enemy forces, and Vela is with them, broadcasting messages throughout the city, calling for your surrender. Caleb turned to Isra. Can you reach the Omega network? Tell them it's time? I'll go now. Not alone. Take Thalia, take guards. You have a battle to lead. Let me do my part. He looked like he wanted to argue. Then acceptance crossed his face. Come back to me. Always. She kissed him fiercely. Then she ran. The lower city was chaos. Smoke billowed. Civilians ran screaming. Thessaly's soldiers were everywhere. Isra moved through shadows, Thalia at her side, until they reached the Omega holding facility. Inside, dozens of Omegas huddled together, suffering etched on their faces, eyes hollow. But when they saw Isra, something sparked. Hope. The king is fighting for your freedom, Isra said. But he can't do it alone. He needs information. Which houses are vulnerable? Where guards are weakest? Why should we trust him? An older woman demanded. He broke his betrothal for me, an Omega, a nobody. He's risking everything because he believes we deserve better. Her voice shook with conviction. I know you've been hurt, but I'm asking you to believe things can change. Silence. Then a young girl stepped forward. I know things. About Thessaly's household, his secrets. One by one, others followed. I know House Castellan's layout. I know where Thessaly keeps his war funds. Emotion pricked at Isra's eyes. Then, help me bring them down. The battle for Valdros lasted 3 days. 3 days of fire and blood, of desperate fighting, of hope, nearly dying 100 times. Isra moved through it all, gathering intelligence, coordinating the network, using her magic to heal the wounded. On the second night, she found Caleb in the command tent. We're losing ground, he said hoarsely. There has to be something we're missing. We've exploited everything. They have more soldiers, more resources. Not everything. They don't have the people. Her mind raced. Vela is their face. If I confronted her publicly, if I defeated her in front of everyone, she'll kill you. Maybe not. I have magic now. The people need a symbol. If I face Vila and win, it could turn the tide. And if you lose, then I'll have died fighting instead of hiding. Caleb stared at her, anguished. I can't lose you. You won't. She cupped his face. I'm not my mother. I'm not going to hide and die in obscurity. I'm going to fight. Because I have someone worth fighting for. For a terrible moment, he said nothing. Then he nodded. If you're doing this, I'll draw Thessaly's forces south. While they're distracted, you find Vila. His jaw tightened. And kill her. Finding Vila wasn't difficult. She'd established herself in the ruined market, broadcasting demands from a makeshift stage. The false king has led you to ruin, Vila's voice rang out. He chose an Omega whore over the kingdom. Surrender now, and Thessaly will show mercy. Isra emerged from shadows. Funny, I don't remember being anyone's whore, but I remember you trying to murder my mate. The crowd gasped. Vila's face twisted. You dare show your face? Someone needs to show these people what you really are, a murderer, a traitor. Flames flickered around Ezra's hands. You poisoned the king because he rejected you. You're not fighting for Valdros, you're fighting for yourself. Kill her. Soldiers moved forward. Fire exploded outward in a protective ring. I don't want to hurt anyone, Ezra said steadily. But I will protect what I love. Vila laughed. You think fire tricks will save you? My mother was a dark witch. She passed everything to me. Shadows gathered around Vila, thick, oily darkness that drank the light. The shadows lunged. Ezra barely dodged. The darkness slammed where she'd stood, leaving blackened stone. You're strong, Vila admitted, but untrained, wild. Maybe. Ezra raised her hands. But I'm not fighting alone. Fire erupted from a dozen points around the square. The Omega Network, Thalia, every witch who had answered the call. Their power combined with Ezra's, creating a wall of flame around Vela. This is for every Omega you would have enslaved, Ezra said. For every life your family destroyed. For my mother. You can't kill me, I'm too powerful. You're finished. Ezra poured everything into the flames. Fire roared, shadows screamed. When the light faded, Lady Vila was ash. The crowd stood stunned. Then a cheer began. Within moments, the square roared with triumph. The witch is dead. Long live the king. Long live the queen. Queen. Ezra heard the word ripple through the crowd and felt something shift. They weren't just winning a battle, they were changing everything. News of Vila's death spread like wildfire. Within hours, the tide turned completely. Soldiers threw down weapons. Noble houses remembered old loyalties. By nightfall, Lord Thessaly stood alone, cornered, abandoned. He refused to surrender. The final battle lasted less than an hour. When it ended, Thessaly lay dead, and the war was won. Ezra found Caleb in the great hall as dawn broke. You're alive, he breathed. So are you. They crashed together, clinging with survivors' desperation. It's over, he murmured. The fighting is over, but there's still so much to do. I know, he cupped her face. But all I can think about is you. You faced Vela alone. You turned the tide. I didn't do it alone. You led them. You inspired them. His thumb traced her cheekbone. You gave me something to believe in. Caleb. Will you marry me? The words hung between them. Not as political arrangement. Just because I love you. Because I can't imagine life without you. Moisture gathered in her eyes, blurring her vision. The council will never accept an Omega as queen. Let them fight. I've gotten good at winning. She looked at this man who had risked everything for her. Yes. 1,000 times yes. His face transformed with pure joy. Yes. I'll marry you. Stand beside you. Fight beside you. He kissed her deeply. I love you. I love you too. 6 months later, the kingdom of Valdros was transformed. The Omega laws were abolished. Every enslaved Omega was freed. The breeding houses closed. The auctions banned. For the first time in over 2 decades, Omegas walked freely. A new council formed, including representatives from all classes, nobles, merchants, craftspeople, and Omegas. And in the great cathedral, Ezra married her king. Her gown was white silk embroidered with golden flames. Her face, once hidden in shame, was bare for all to see. When the claiming came, she tilted her head without hesitation. His teeth sank into her skin, and the mate bond snapped into place. Overwhelming, perfect, and inevitable. Yours. Finally, completely yours. And you're mine. Forever. The celebration lasted 3 days. On the second night, Thalia found Ezra. I've been researching your bloodline. Seren wasn't just a healer witch. She descended from one of the original Omega bloodlines that helped found this kingdom. Thalia paused. The same bloodline that created the royal wards. Ezra's eyes widened. That's why I could pass through them. You have as much claim to this throne as Caleb. Maybe more. I don't want a claim. I just want to help people. Thalia smiled. Which is exactly why you deserve to be queen. That night, after celebrations wound down, Caleb told her, "The healer visited today. Ezra, you're pregnant." The world stopped. What? We're having a child, our baby. Are you happy? He asked anxiously. I'm so happy I can't breathe. He laughed, half sobbing, pulling her close. Our child will never know fear. They'll grow up in a kingdom that loves them. We'll make sure of it. 1 year later. The nursery was the warmest room in the palace. Ezra sat by the window, her daughter in her arms. Serenity, named for the grandmother she'd never know, slept peacefully. Caleb entered quietly. The education reforms passed unanimously, all children learning together, omegas, alphas, betas, growing up as equals. Ezra smiled at their daughter. She'll live in such a different world. That's the point. Caleb knelt beside them. We break the old patterns so our children don't have to carry them. Serenity's eyes fluttered open, amber like her father's, flecked with gray like her mother's. She's going to be trouble, Caleb said fondly. With parents like us? Absolutely. They laughed together. Later, Ezra stood at the window, watching sunset over Valdros. The city had healed. New buildings rose, streets filled with people living freely. Caleb's arms wrapped around her. What are you thinking? That the worst moment of my life, stumbling into your chambers, turned out to be the beginning of everything good. You know what I think about? When you challenged me, demanded to understand why I hadn't marked you. That's when I knew I could fall in love with you. You were stubborn about it. I was terrified. He kissed her temple. I'd believed love was weakness. Then you appeared and everything crumbled. I'm sorry for destroying your worldview. Don't be. It needed destroying. She took his hand. Thank you. For refusing to let me leave. For seeing me when I tried to hide. For building this life with me. Thank you for saving me. In every way a person can be saved. The stars emerged as darkness settled over the kingdom they'd rebuilt. In the nursery, their daughter slept peacefully, dreaming of a future where omegas were free, where love conquered fear, and where two people who found each other against impossible odds lived happily ever after. Thank you for listening to this story. If you enjoyed it, let me know in the comments. I always read them, and they mean more than you know. She entered the Alpha King's chamber by mistake, and he refused to let her leave. But what began as captivity became something neither expected. Freedom. True freedom, found in each other's arms.